going, we don't need roads.
This is your host Joey Cruel, and you are listening to Relentless Flashbackin. In every episode I will time travel to explore a year, and I'll talk about its historical events, stuff, toys, cars, TV, movies and music. You'll find Relentless Flashbackin on Mixcloud, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. With this episode I'll talk about 1996. The 90s were an awful decade, the beginning of a never-ending journey through hell. Yes, there was something remarkable, but for sure 1996 shows how the last 29 years have been heinous and empty. This section is about the 1996 stuff. 3 unique video games are released this year, and only one is successful. Steven Spielberg's Director's Chair is a video game where you can create your own movie, or at least you will have the illusion of doing it. You are guided by Steven Spielberg through the process of movie making, including script writing, filming and editing, using pre-generated film clips featuring Jennifer Aniston, Quentin Tarantino, Catherine Elmond and Penn and Teller. So you have to choose various options and the result will be a sort of short movie. It's funny, but as soon as you finish all the combinations, the game falls flat, in spite of the live action scenes with big names. Then there is another video game with live action scenes, Reaper. It's a video game consisting of 6 CD-ROMs, because it's practically an interactive movie with great actors, Christopher Walken, Paul Giamatti, Karen Allen, Burgess Meredith and John Rhys-Davies. As a soundtrack there is the song Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult. And the funny thing is that after 4 years, in the year 2000, Christopher Walken will appear in the famous Saturday Night Live sketch about the recording of this song. The story takes place in 2040, the atmosphere is very cyberpunk, and in some ways it has some elements similar to the movie Blade Runner. You are a detective that deals with the case of the Reaper, a serial killer who is terrorizing New York. The over 3 hours of videos combined with the fact of being able to have 4 different endings makes this video game really interesting. With these premises, this game could be a masterpiece, but there are some irritating puzzles and arcade games that break the atmosphere, and that can put the player in a dead end. It's such a pity that video games with live action scenes will not be produced after the year 2000, when the new hardware could have offered more opportunities. Then there is the successful Duke Nukem 3D. There is a direct descendant of the equally historic Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. Although the game has bad taste choices, the protagonist and the story have, without any doubt, a cinematic quality, both for the atmosphere and for this stereotypical steroid-filled action man who fights alone against an alien invasion. Another characteristic is that Duke Nukem, in addition to have quotes from great movies, such as They Live or The Army of Darkness, has his own epic one-liners.
My name's Duke Nukem. Damn, I'm good.
I like big guns, and I cannot lie.
Come get some.
I'm an equal opportunity ass kicker.
Let God sort 'em out. You're an inspiration for birth control.
There's only 2 ways this can end, and in both of them, you die. Rest in pieces.
Ooh, that's gotta hurt.
The game will become so famous and successful that in 1999 will be released the CD Duke Nukem Music to Score By, with a collection of songs as an imaginary soundtrack for the video game. Most of the album is full of the worst that the 90s can offer. The only good songs are Land of the Free Disease by Corrosion of Conformity, Screaming from the Sky by Slayer, and the cover of the Duke Nukem theme, played in a magnificent way by Megadeth. Paperinik, also known as Duck Avenger in USA and Super Duck in UK, is the Donald Duck's alter ego. The character is an Italian invention by Elisa Penna, Guido Martina and Giovan Battista Carpi, and he was introduced in 1969. This year the character is renewed, thanks to a series of comics that are published in Italy between 1996 and 2001, that will be followed by 2 series until 2005. The story is more mature, mature, so it can be enjoyed also by adolescents, and it follows the Marvel and the DC formats. The genre is definitely science fiction, and the main alien enemies are strongly inspired by the alien designed by H.R. Giger. In 1996, Pepsi releases the new Pepsi Boom, a Pepsi free of sugar, caffeine and artificial sweeteners, but it's sold only in Germany, Italy and Spain. Before 1996, the main formats for a movie are the cheap VHS with low quality and durability, or the expensive Laserdisc with excellent quality and durability. In 1996, there is a format revolution with the arrival of the DVD that doesn't have the Laserdisc quality, but is vastly superior over the VHS. The DVD is a much smaller and more practical Laserdisc, with the same size of a compact disc, and as for the CD, the encoding is digital. Beyond the movie, a lot of DVDs contain documentaries and other extras, like Laserdiscs, and it also allows to choose the languages. There are also DVDs that contains only the movie, and they are called Vanilla DVD. This waste of plastic is due to the fact that the production company don't want to invest money to produce interviews or to make a research in the archives. And then there is another reason. It's a marketing strategy to get customers to purchase the limited edition that they will publish in the future, or to purchase the next video format, the Blu-ray, that will be released in 2006, just after 10 years. If you think that the VHS was released in 1976, you can understand how eager they were to show a new product down our throats. The Misfits are a very important punk group, but despite they had a following, they couldn't find a record label interested in their music until 1982. When they broke up, the cult started to infect the music scene, and they became legends not only for punk bands, but also for hard rock and heavy metal bands, as shown by the covers played by Metallica and Guns N' Roses. Then Danzig, the singer, with his solo career, continued to fuel the flame. They are so special not only for their unmistakable look, but also for their music style that mixes punk with 50s rock and roll and horror themes. In fact, they are one of the first horror punk bands. The horror themes are fueled also by lyrics inspired by the worst 50s B-movies, but also for more details. The logo lettering is taken from the magazine Famous Monsters of the Filmland, that was published from 1958 to 1983. The skull that appeared for the first time on the 1979 EP Horror Business, and that will be on all their merchandising, comes from the 1946 serial The Crimson Ghost. In 1995, the Misfits were reformed, with a new lineup, without the original singer, Danzig, and in this 1996 they release a coffin-shaped box. There is a fundamental compendium for all the Misfits fans, with almost all the songs recorded by the band in the 70s and in the 80s. The most important thing, however, is the fourth CD, Starry Cage, the debut album recorded in 1978 but never released so far. The album will be also released individually in 1997, with the addition of 3 fantastic bonus tracks: She, Spinal Remains and In the Doorway. What to say about this album? It's a masterpiece. It was something completely new for 1978, and it's something still fresh and captivating in 1996. The Misfits managed to create an unrepeatable atmosphere, a sort of alternate 50s. My poor words can describe the Misfits music, so here is the great TV Casualty. This section is about the Toys World of 1996. The second Legoland theme park opens in Windsor, England, and in 2017 it will become the 10th most visited theme park in Europe. Actually, it's the third LEGO theme park. Everybody knows that the first Legoland opened in Denmark in 1968, but almost everybody forgets the ill-fated Legoland Kirchdorf, opened in Germany in 1973 and closed just after 3 years in 1976. I'll talk about it when I'll travel back to 1973. The Star Wars saga was missing from the toy aisles since 1985 and in 1995 came back with a new line, The Power of the Force, that will last until the year 2000. Nothing memorable, but along books and video games it will help to keep alive the Star Wars saga. Then, in 1997, the Blasphemous Special Edition will arrive to ruin what was already perfect, and in 1999 the equally blasphemous sequels will begin to hit the theaters. Sandwiched between the bland 1995 events and the horrifying events of 1997 and 1999, in 1996 there is a miracle. Following the success of the board game Atmosphere, there is a VHS board games craze, so Parker Brothers, taking advantage of it, publishes the best Star Wars board game ever made, Star Wars, the interactive video board game Assault on the Death Star. This game features a flat 2D board with a plastic 3D inner ring and a catwalk that are raised off of the regular board, and the objective is to plant your explosives and disable the Death Star 2 before it reaches Dreamba 4th, while interacting with the video on the screen. What is absolute gold is that in the video there are new scenes where Darth Vader is played by the original actor David Prowse and voiced by the original voice actor James Earl Jones, all shot in the original first movie set. And then there is also Gilbert Taylor, the director of photography of the first movie. Without any doubt is one of the best board games ever made. Mr. Big is one of the few 80s bands that continued to record and to publish albums in the 90s. In 1996, regardless of the musical trends of the moment, they publish another great hard rock album, Amen. The lineup is still the original one, with 4 amazing talents: Eric Martin on vocals, Paul Gilbert on guitar, Billy Sheehan on bass, and Pat Torpey on drums. The 4th album is a confirmation of the Mr. Big value, with few missteps: The Chain, Dancing Ride in Flames, and If That's What It Takes. The rest of the songs are electrifying and unforgettable. There are several bonus tracks in different editions: Little Mistake, Tears, I Love You Japan, and Swingin' Jam, but the only great song is I Love You Japan. Then there are more songs on the singles B-side, Living Like a Dog and Shoot the Moon, and they are both really great. Then we will have to wait another 3 years for the next album, Get Over It, that will be released in 1999, because in 1997 Paul Gilbert, the guitarist, will leave the band. And now here is Mr. Big with Out of Underground. In this section, I'll talk about the automotive world of 1996. This year is at the 38th place for the crude oil price ranking over 75 years, a ranking from the most expensive to the cheapest year. The price in 1996 is $20. There are $34 in 2019 money. To let you make a comparison, just think that in 2019 the price will be $50. In 1996, General Motors releases the first mass-produced and purpose-designed electric vehicle of the modern era from a major automaker, the General Motors EV1. It's the first and only passenger car to be marketed under the corporate General Motors (GM) name instead of being branded under one of its divisions. the EV1 is made available through limited lease-only agreements and only in few cities. The cars aren't available for purchase, and they could be serviced only at designed Saturn dealerships. While the customer reaction to EV1 is positive, GM doesn't believe in electric cars, so they will repossess all the cars in 2002. The majority of the repossessed EV1 will be crushed, and about 40 will be delivered to museums and educational institutes, under the agreement that the cars shouldn't be reactivated and driven on the road. The EV1's discontinuation will be controversial, because it will be clear that GM will kill the electric car to avoid potential losses and maybe for an agreement with the oil industry. The demise of the EV1 will be the subject of a 2006 documentary film entitled Who Killed the Electric Car? If GM kept up improving EV1, we could have enjoyed better electric cars and with a less expensive price. Yes, the range per charge isn't phenomenal and the EV1 is kinda ugly, but this could have been the revolution that we have been waiting for ages. So we have to wait 12 more years to finally see the revenge of the electric cars. The Dodge Viper was conceived in 1988 and in 1992 finally was free to bite the road. Now, in 1996, Dodge introduces the Viper GTS Coupe with over the 19% of new parts, despite similar looks. And with the 450 horsepower, the new Viper reaches 184 miles per hour. Among the colors there is the GTS Blue, and that's how it will glitter in our minds. With white stripes and the GTS Blue, the Viper appears on the posters over our walls, an evil and overpowering beast that will dominate our dreams. Until 1995, Porsche had only 3 cars in production: the 1911, the 1924 and the 1928. The company was becoming known only as the brand of the 911, and its aura as a great car brand was in danger. In 1992 they decided to create a concept inspired by the historic models such as the historic 356 Cabriolet or the 550 Spider. This decision is a leap of faith, since the last roadster introduced by Porsche was the 550 Spider in the 50s, and since an entry-level Porsche is proved to be always controversial. Thankfully, the Porsche 986, better known as the Boxster, is a success. The lines are flowing and rounded, but it manages to be still bold as a Porsche. The front headlights have an original shape that reminds the ones mounted on 911, so in 1997 Porsche will decide to use them on the new 911, the 996, the worst 911 ever. In fact, it's a move that will be heavily criticized, so the next 911, the 997, will have the classic look. Since it's an entry-level Porsche, the depreciation will be heavy. Michael Monroe is the former singer of Hanoi Rocks, an historic Finnish band, which broke up in 1985. He published in 1987 his first solo album, Nights Are So Long, and solidified his fame in 1989 with the shocking Not Faking It. Between 1990 and 1995, he continued in his musical career with 2 unfortunate and underrated bands, Jerusalem Slim and Demolition 23. In 1996, Matti Antero Christian Fagerholm, aka Michael Monroe, returns with a new solo album, Peace of Mind, released in Finland by Poco Records, an historic label founded in 1977 that will close in 2009. The album will be released worldwide only in 1999 and then again in the year 2000, with the additional 2 precious bonus tracks, recorded in 1985 with the singer of Dead Boys, Steve Butters. I Wanna Be With You, a cover of the 60s group The Raspberries, and It's a Lie, a song that Jimmy Zero, the Dead Boys guitarist, wrote for the first Michael Monroe solo album. There are more covers on Peace of Mind: Machine Gun Etiquette by The Damned, Kick Out the Jams by MC5, and Not Anymore by Dead Boys. All these bands were highly influential for Michael Monroe. Peace of Mind is another Monroe masterpiece that you never get tired of listening to. With this album, the episode ends. There are more topics from 1996 that I have to explore, but in the next episode episode I'll time travel to 1976. Please subscribe to the channel and follow the show on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. If you want to give your support, please visit Patreon. And remember that you can find a t-shirt for every year on Teespring. Relentless Flashbackin is easy to find because the name is unique all over the web. And now, from Peace of Mind, here is Michael Monroe with Rent Free. Stay outrageous, stay larger than life. Romeo, Foxtrot, Bravo!